guys? Welcome back to the Mike Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. Today, we're going to continue our NFL series where we preview the draft by looking at team needs. We've done 6 conferences, and now we're on to the final 2 conferences, the AFC West and the NFC West. So today, we're going to get into the division that's been ruled by Patrick Mahomes, the AFC. All right, so first on the list, we're going to start with our very first team, and we've got the Denver Broncos. Their team needs are going to be offensive tackle, edge rusher, and interior offensive line. So Denver picked up quarterback Russell Wilson a couple years ago, and it's not been peaches and cream since he's been there. It's been a little bit of a struggle. A lot of people felt like the price to get Russell was a little too high. I'm one of those people as well. I thought that kind of like Lamar in a way, there are some unique circumstances that need to be in play in order for him to be at his best. And I think that they haven't been able to really see that from Russ as of today. They do have head coach Sean Payton, who, from my understanding, when he was with the Saints and Russell was coming out of college, he had a lot of interest in him and just couldn't get to him before the Seahawks did. So this is a situation where match made in heaven type of thing. If you're a quarterback, Sean Payton's a guy who's going to figure out how to use you. He started to bring in some former Saints, some guys that are familiar with his scheme. He's big on receivers that can block. So he's looking to put pieces in place around Russell that are going to make the scheme run better. Keep in mind, Russell likes to throw on the move, and he's got a situation where Sean Payton has used a quarterback that's mobile to his advantage, except Russell's a better passer. So then you complement that with a better offensive line as far as the interior and the edge. And then you also need an edge rusher on defense, so you try to create turnovers, get the ball back. All right, next up, Kansas City Chiefs, wide receiver, offensive tackle. So the Chiefs have kind of gotten to the wide receiver merry-go-round business where besides Tyreek Hill, they hadn't really had any particular secondary, third option receivers that have been there year after year after year. They keep turning it over, even though they've used things like the draft. You've got guys like Sky Moore, you have McCole Hardman, you had Juju Smith-Schuster, you've had Sammy Watkins. You had these different faces coming in at receiver, but you always had Tyreek, and then you've got Travis Kelce, one of the better tight ends in football. So when you start to look at the piece of the puzzle, it's one of those schemes where it's plug and play with different guys and they make it happen. Offensive tackle has kind of been a sore spot for the Chiefs over the last few years. They've not really been as consistent as you would like to have when you have a franchise guy like Patrick Mahomes, and he's been injured because of it. Let's go on to the Las Vegas Raiders. You could say quarterback, edge rusher, offensive tackle, and tight end. I say quarterback because they lost Derek Carr, and they already had probably the 4th best QB in the division. And now you could probably take a couple of backups from the other teams to elevate those players above the Raiders' potential QB options. That being said, I think that's going to be a priority for them as far as getting somebody that could take over the realm and become their franchise guy. You're going to need to protect them with the offensive line, and then you're going to need a tight end because Waller hasn't been the guy that he was a couple of years ago. And then they have Moreau, who actually has been injured and then was eventually had to be released. So you start to look at the different pieces, and you can see where there's going to be some reconstruction on offense, and they're going to be a really run-heavy team. But this is the year to start. And then, of course, edge rusher. You got to get somebody to rush the passer, make things happen, and help your defense, which if you got good edge defense, as far as being able to stop the run and get after the quarterback, that's going to make the job on the guys behind them better, such as your safeties and your cornerbacks. All right, last team, Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are a funny team to really evaluate, and I think their needs are going to be tight end, interior defensive line, and running back. I feel like they have, in my opinion, at this point, the second best QB in the division. Justin Herbert is a dog. He's that guy. Sometimes the offense just doesn't hum properly, and sometimes it's due to blocking. Sometimes their run game isn't reliable, so it makes his job a little bit harder. And Patrick Mahomes is just all world. So best you can get in that division is going to be second. And I give that to Justin Herbert. But you give him a nice tight end target, something he hasn't really had. I think that's going to open up their passing game. You add another running back who can run between the tackles. And all of a sudden, this team looks a lot better on paper, and it makes it more consistent. The interior defensive line, you always want a good guy that can push the pocket and stuff to run, and that's something that I believe is a need for a lot of teams, but I think it's a priority for the Chargers specifically because they've, suffered, just people aging out of sport, significant losses at the interior D line. So those are my opinions. Would love to get your thoughts. This has been T for the Mic Check Podcast. Until the next time I'm out. Peace.